Pugh, he's got MVS up ahead, leading the brigade, and it's a nice gain for Kansas City. First down from the Cincinnati. 45 goes to Pacheco this time. He sees an opening. There he goes into the secondary. Pacheco to the 10-yard line, taking Jordan Battle with him. 3rd and goal, 8 yards out. Kelsey's in a slot to the right side. There's Mahomes. Fires it. Touchdown, Kansas City. Pacheco on the receiving end.
Take a look over here. There's 4 guys, only 1 over here. You don't normally do that, but Pacheco's going to go right through the middle. And because they have not used this all year.
1st and goal. Nowhere to go. Steelers, who have beaten the Bengals twice. It's all part of that mix, trying to sort out the wild card spots. Of course, you got Chiefs trying to win the division, and they get it to Pacheco, who turns the corner and goes down the sideline inside the 40-yard line. Broke a big one. Harrison Butker, beautiful boot, and it's good. Denver playing right now against the Chargers. Here's Browning on the bootleg. Cuts it back and gets knocked down for a yard loss. Look what Anarumo's done. This is a reflection on what Lou does to defend them. They open this drive with Pacheco ripping off a big one. Inside the 50, the 40, the 30-yard line before he is taken out. Kelsey threw a huge block. Nixon, Willie Gay is there to meet him. What a play, Willie Gay busted across the line, and the Bengals are denied. Standing up, ready to pounce is Higginson on 3rd and 4. They double him up. So down the field goes Mahomes. He's got Watson. There is a flag down at the line of scrimmage. Watson able to make the big catch. 2nd and 10. Sealer, get it to Rice. There's his 2nd catch. Motoring down to about the 13.
I mean, there's something about being down inside that 10 for a quarterback. That's dicey holding that ball. Good poise.
1st and 10. Now on the sideline, he's got a man open. Rice off to the races. And Rice is brought down at the 10-yard line.
Bengals want to disrupt that plan and get themselves in the mix.
Starts right here. Rushing 5. Browning in the pocket. Forced out of it. Backs up and fires it. Incomplete. Mason Rudolph. Then going out there to the Great Northwest and putting up 30-plus against the Seahawks.
Mike Tomlin, wow.
3rd and 17. And they got him back at the 11-yard line. Karlaftis is in there. Amenahue.
You can rely on them in key moments. Last week, not great in the 4-minute, but today they're good.
There's Robbins. He booms one. Back to the 36. Richie James almost went down on one knee. Now he goes. Richie James switches hands with the football and is forced out of bounds by the punter, Robbins, after a big run back. 2nd and 4. Browning. What did we just say? This Chiefs defense keeps making play after play, and it's 3rd and 12. And here comes the blitz. Browning gets hit. Decked at the 33, and again it's Reed for the 2nd consecutive play.
Seen this over and over again by Browning. He's done this multiple times in those in-breakers on huge plays.
That went for 23. Here's Browning again. Hit from behind by Karlaftis, his 2nd sack of the quarter. You've already kept them alive with a 4th and 18. Here's a 2nd and 16, and it only gets worse.
They got to get up quickly or use their timeout now. I would take the timeout right now.
Browning stepping up and heaving it. Down for Higgins. The ball hits the ground. And Kansas City is going to take the AFC West for an 8th consecutive year.
Yay! We are celebrating a new year 2024. Happy New Year to you. Welcome into the Red Hour. I am your host, Sean Tyler. To my right, little change of scenery and pace today. We have cousin, the Bet Master General, Darren Smith. What's up, yo?
Bet Master. You can't say that.
Happy New Year.
The better General.
Happy New Year to you, man. And you too, Steve.
Say it,
Nothing nice to say. Don't say nothing at all, huh? Just landed on Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right.
All right. And to his right, nephew, Steve Walls. What's up?
What's happening?
I'm all good.
Me too.
I survived 2023, which is saying a lot.
True.
Because that was poop emoji, poop emoji, poop emoji. That's all I'm going to say about 2023.
True.
So I'm on the other side, and I'm happy about it.
Exactly. I feel good, though.
We all feel good because we're celebrating a victory Monday, which I feel we haven't done in quite a while.
Yeah, especially a home win.
Man, week 17, the Chiefs defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 25-17, or shall I say that Harrison Butker defeated the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll get into that. DJ Q is not here currently. He is moisturizing. He's upset about the Eagles' loss to the Arizona Cardinals.
Have y'all noticed the trend with Q? Every time the Eagles lose, he never shows up. This is the Monday
after.
after.
He's never at the same place.
Yeah.
He's not here. Well, if I lost to the Cardinals, but we lost to the Raiders and we showed up. So I mean,
we did.
So he definitely
we
should
pressed
be here.
on.
We did. We cried.
Because it's funny because
we got over it.
When Philly wins, he comes gliding in.
He do.
Chest all out, hair all moisturized. When they lose, man, I'm running late.
And he has a different glow about him. It's like he has that halo walking
like
with.
He can't find his moisturizer or he's fresh out.
Yeah.
We are live today from Big Bro's house. Dayton and Hughes celebrating the new year. So gracious host he is.
Exactly.
Has us here, and I don't know if you can see all the Daytonery around us.
Yeah, that's kind of like tell on itself.
But he wanted to have loved ones around him because he is feeling vulnerable because his Chicken Hawks lost their bowl game today. So he's a little down in the dump. So we decided to come and give him some New Year's love just to be with him.
Who did they lose to?
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah, they volunteered for that ass whipping is what happened today. We'll talk to Dayton in a little bit. He's going to be on with us.
He's like he playing y'all off because he's like, I know Iowa lost. Don't worry about it.
I know he can hear me. If he can't do nothing else, he can hear really well.
That is right there.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. But obviously we're in a jovial mood because we are celebrating our 8th win atop the AFC West. We are the AFC champions once again, and that makes us record breakers because everyone else has only done it 15 times. The Chiefs have now done it a record 16 times.
Yeah, I think the only team that they're behind is the Patriots.
In the NFL, but in the AFC, all of them got 15, and now we have 16.
Another record for you guys. Andy Reid, his 18th 10-win season makes it second in the NFL all time.
Is that behind Belichick?
Yep.
Nice.
9 straight trips to the playoffs, second longest streak in NFL history. 8 straight division titles, second longest streak in NFL history. 9 straight 10-win seasons, third longest streak in the NFL, and the winningest franchise over the last 11 years. And I've said it over the past few years, we have been the most consistent NFL team in the NFL for the past 10, now 11 years. That is saying a whole lot, especially considering that we can win with a very, very, very bad offense. And yesterday, once again, we saw a struggling offense do exactly what they do. We watched Marquez Valdez-Scantling touch some balls.
Pause.
I'm not even pausing because whatever, MVS. You can touch them, but you can't hold on to them.
And the funny you say that. There's one play, and me and Darren talked about it. Look, it was a magnifying glass on him yesterday.
Oh, absolutely.
And before the drop, and then it was highlighted once he dropped the pass. And
to that point, Steve and I were saying that Patrick's going to come back. He's going to go back to him, and I'm like, and I told you, I said, even if he comes back to him, if he doesn't make the catch, it's going to make it even worse.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he came back to him on the deep pass.
And not only did he come back to him, my nephew who's visiting from LA is sitting next to me and he's talking trash about the team, even though he's a Chiefs fan. He just kept harping on how bad they were.
Yeah.
So he tried to stand up for Marquez Valdez-Scantling and say that one pass that Patrick threw to him, that not only did he touch, it touched his body, which he could have closed his hands and held that ball in. And he said, well, Patrick threw that behind him. Like, listen, that ball, Stevie Wonder could have caught, because not only did it hit his hands, but immediately after it was against his ribs. So he could have just closed his hands and he would have had that ball.
Yeah.
But nothing. So we had, again, your announcers harping on the fact that we have dropped more passes than any NFL team this season.
Yeah. It's bad. It's bad.
Now, I have a question for either one of you all. During the highlight, they made it, and looking at it on social media, because we can't, Steve and I can't hear the broadcast in the press box, but they made it seem like he was kind of like trying to go back at Mahomes or trying to show Mahomes up, claiming that you threw the ball behind me. I guess he was a little bit more visible and, outward more so than that. Is that the case, or is that what you saw when you saw replays of that catch, of that drop?
No. Again, we grew up in that era playing football. If you can touch it, you can catch it.
Agree
Still, that's still it.
That's it.
Yeah, if it touch your hands, you're supposed to catch it.
If you put your hands on it, because we watched a player, I don't even know what game I was watching, touched just the bare ends of the football before it went through, and he had his hands on it. He closed his hands, and he had the catch.
I mean, hell, we saw a wide receiver yesterday. I forget which game it was. Caught the ball with his left hand, pull it in, and score a touchdown on it,
and roll on it without letting the ball touch the ground.
We just watched a quarterback receive a bad throw, caught it with one hand, and then was able to
then hit his receiver, and the receiver caught the ball.
And you know what? The thing about it, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now, but he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt anymore.
No,
just because of how things have been going, not only this season but last season too. So the sample size is rather large.
And I don't know what it is, but it's not one receiver. It's all of them, except for Rashee Rice. It is all of them.
Not Justin Watson. Watson's been balling.
But Justin Watson hasn't been targeted that much either.
Right.
So
that's just the Eagles game.
There's that. But every last receiver on this Chiefs team has dropped more than 5 passes. Very catchable passes. And some have one reception with 50-plus attempts. It's really bad. So I don't know what the problem is with this receiving core, and maybe we'll talk to Dana about that, because he comes from the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
And we'll see what it is. Can it be fixed? Does it even matter at this point? Because now we know that the Chiefs will probably play a lot of backups coming this Sunday afternoon, 3:30, when they take on the Chargers for their final regular season game.
Did you hear Andy talk today?
No, he didn't talk today.
Okay.
He won't talk until Wednesday, and it's Andy and players TBD, which means Patrick's not talking, which means he's not playing.
And he shouldn't have anything to say either.
If they don't play, it's 2 things on this. If they don't play,
because this game means absolutely nothing to the Chiefs at this point. We are the number 3 seed in the AFC, so we've clinched our spot.
Would this harm them going forward if they don't play this 1 week?
Well, you and I had the conversation. For me, it's like, hell, they need all the reps they can get. I mean, just based off of this past game. And my question to Andy was, knowing how bad the offense has been struggling, Harrison Butker, to his credit, was 6 for 6 yesterday on the field goals, which helped a lot.
He personally beat the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right.
One miss and it's a different ballgame.
And I was going to say, we were a leg cramp away from not winning this game.
But I'm saying, I asked the question because it's like, that you're probably going to sit Patrick and some of these other players, but don't you feel like you need the rest, because you can't even take yesterday's game into the playoffs? Because
so in direct response to that very question, for 17 weeks we had reps in live action, real-time football. Do you think this one game against the Chargers is going to make a difference?
Well, here's the thing. They had a bye week after the Germany game, and look how they came out and played against Philadelphia. And they lost. So no, so I mean,
and people talk. Well, the pushback on that will be, all right, well, there's different circumstances. It wasn't playoff. It wasn't lose or go home. However, it was the Eagles. This was one of those.
Absolutely.
You're the best team in the league. If
This
you
was
win
your
this game.
Super Bowl rematch.
Hold on,
And
but
people were talking about you did not earn that win against the Philadelphia Eagles. So
but here's the thing though. Because they lost that game and some of the other subsequent losses, now you're in a situation where you saw Miami get blasted yesterday. You could have gotten the number 2
say
seed.
that again.
Blasted. You could have been in contention for the number 2 seed,
Yeah.
and now, like you said, no matter what happens, because if Buffalo wins next week, Buffalo jumps Miami, and they're the number 2 seed, and that's So the Chiefs had many opportunities throughout the season, and like you said, I mean, just the sheer fact that how they've played and put themselves in the position that they have. That's why I feel like they need some reps next week. We know that they're probably not. I know some players like Chris Jones who want to play because of contract stuff.
Of course, that was my other question.
And don't you want to rest them up because now it's really play or go home?
Yeah, want to go. Yeah.
No, I said play because
I think he's gonna let them play at least one half.
all right.
And the reason I say that, I'm looking Travis Kelce. I thought yesterday, actually 2 games ago on Christmas Day, I thought he was going to get his 8,000-yard season. And I think that's huge for
he's
him.
what, 65 yards away?
I think he's like 16 yards away.
16 yards away. So I think first half,
We thought he was going to get it yesterday.
he's going to play, or at least let them play first quarter or something, get his yards, and then be done. Well, I mean, why would you not allow him to do that?
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Well, but I think Rasheed Rice is not
Same
too
reason.
far away as well. From 1,000, is he close to 1,000 yards?
Is
now?
he? We can see.
I think either he is and Pacheco. I think they're close. So
At this point, I ain't giving nobody nothing. You either earn it, want it for real, or
and you can't see it.
or
You
whatever.
can't see everybody. Just go to ESPN
or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Not
here's your seeding right now. NFC, Green Bay 7 seed, the Rams 6, Philadelphia Eagles with an 11-5 record are the 5th seed in the NFC. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4, Detroit Lions are a 3 seed, Dallas Cowboys are a 2 seed, and of course San Francisco 49ers are your 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah.
So the AFC, you have the Indianapolis Colts as your 7th seed, the Buffalo Bills as your 6th seed at 10-6. The Cleveland Browns at 11-5 are your 5th seed. Jacksonville Jaguars are your 4th seed. Chiefs, we know, are the 3rd seed. Miami Dolphins are the 2nd seed, which could change come next week. And the first round bye will go to the number 1 seed, Baltimore Ravens, who abused a struggling team on Sunday.
Yeah, they dog them
for no reason. For no reason. But I love that kind of coaching because we know Andy Reid. If you're about 3 points, Andy Reid, all right, let's ease up.
Yeah.
Let's
say that one more time.
Let's ease up. We'll just run the ball from here.
Yeah,
We'll just
seen that far too often.
And Pacheco, you sit down. You won't run the ball. We'll let.
Nah, they're too close. You got 3 guys that could get 1,000 yards in this season. A rookie, a Pacheco, which this will be his first 1,000-yard season, and then Travis Kelce will be his 8th consecutive. Like that's.
See, but you're thinking in terms of a fan and
no. We're just thinking in terms of football.
Andy's a player's coach.
I totally hear that. But the way this team has played offensively this year, and even Travis Kelce has dropped some very catchable passes.
They don't deserve them stats.
They don't deserve
what?
Them. No.
You gotta.
See, that's how I know that some of the kids in your class got, hey, you came out.
No, we ain't grading on the curve.
You dressed up.
No, we're not grading on the curve. No,
take this award.
No, sir. We you're gonna get the grade that you get, but that is still. And if I'm Andy, I'm gonna say this: you're gonna get 1 half to get the yards that you need. If you can't get it in that 1 half with the touches you get, then it's a wrap. But we're gonna get 1 half to be able to get it. And if I'm Travis Kelce, I'm going to Pat like, hey, let me get them 16 yards in that first
open and drive.
Yeah.
Open and drive.
16 yards and I'm good.
Bruh.
Yeah. Everybody else, you be able to figure it out how. And I'm not sure on a rookie deal, can you get incentives on your rookie contract?
Most of them don't.
Honestly, for someone like Pacheco, because he's a 7th-round draft pick, there is a separate pool of money. Because I know Trey Smith got like 600,000 1 year just by the number of snaps and contribution. So it would mean a lot for him to get that 1,000 yards.
And I think that's all depending on the class that where they were drafted.
Yeah.
We're going to take our first break. here for Week 17 of the Red Hour. We're going to talk about Jamar Chase, Darius Sneed. We'll talk about Butker. We'll talk about Rice, Pacheco, Mahomes. We'll talk about the wild card round of the playoffs. We'll talk about what that can mean for Week 18 because there could still be some movement in the AFC coming this week. So we'll break it all down for you and come back with some special guests. We are live from Danon's house as we do a Week 17. It's the Red Hour. Back in moments. Season 5, Week 17 of the Red Hour, live from Danon's crib, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and their win over the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday, 25-17. The Chiefs are locked in as your number 3 seed in the AFC. But the Baltimore Ravens, who clinched the AFC's top seed Sunday, getting ready for this AFC wildcard weekend, which will include 3 games, the 2nd seed hosting the 7th seed, the 3rd seed hosting the 6th seed, and the 4th seed hosting the 5th seed, which could mean that the Chiefs could possibly host the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Everybody who was upset that they didn't get to see the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill
have that chance.
You're gonna get all the Tyreek Hill you want.
So,
this coming 2 weeks.
We saw the Dolphins fall.
Yep.
Sunday.
Yep.
And it was a whole thing about, because we talked about the Eagles and the Dolphins, and are they that strong of a team, or is it the competition that they're playing?
Mm.
And when they do play some real competition, you get what we got yesterday, as opposed to the Eagles, who I don't know what happened there, but they've had their moments of collapse this season, just like the Chiefs had.
Yeah.
So do we want to see the Miami Dolphins, because they're stat-wise, there's a 47% chance that is who we could be playing?
I would much rather see.
You want to take a stab at it first, Steve?
Yeah, I would much rather see Miami than Buffalo.
And there's like a 17 or 18% chance of the Bills.
Yeah, I second that emotion with Steve. I mean, I would prefer. No, actually, no. You know what? No. I would prefer Miami to win and Buffalo not make the playoffs. So that way, we would. I would rather travel to. Yeah, I'd rather if we have to travel to Miami to play them in the divisional game, and then and then host the AFC Championship game back in Kansas City.
Because one thing has to happen to become the 6th seed, losing to the Bills in the season's final game on Sunday for the Dolphins.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think by that time, Buffalo will know whether or not it's in the playoffs regardless.
That will give them the 2nd seed if they win.
Well, yeah, if they win, but I'm saying, but the other scenarios where they would be out of the playoffs, because I think Jacksonville has to win. I think Pittsburgh has to win.
There's
Saturday.
a mix of scenarios. Yeah, absolutely. But they definitely have to do their job to make it happen.
Yeah.
Why is it that anytime there's playoff implications with this Chiefs team, they always need Miami to do something? They always need Miami.
Because Miami knocked off New England.
Absolutely.
With the Fitzmagic, yeah.
But if the Chiefs had handled their business like they needed to during the season, we wouldn't be in this predicament.
Yeah.
Again, yep.
We wouldn't be in this predicament, because there were, even 2 weeks ago, we had the opportunity to be the number 1 seed.
And here's the thing about it. You think about it, they had a 10-point lead over Philly and lost it. They had a lead over Buffalo and lost it. And so those are, especially the Buffalo game. I mean, that game comes back to haunt you because, again, you could have been a number 2 seed, and all Buffalo has to do is win out Sunday, and they're the number 2 seed. The AFC, it's just
And yesterday,
bad.
we hosted a backup quarterback. And this is not the only backup quarterback that has held us up against the fence
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And honestly, you look just watching their QB play yesterday. They had him on the ropes.
Oh, absolutely.
Like had this Chiefs defense on. I mean, they had no answer for him using his legs.
If T. Higgins doesn't go out after the first snap of the game after he caught that 19, I think he ended up coming back.
He did
come back into play, but he didn't do anything. But I think, if they were full strength, because I don't even know if Tyler Boyd, I think he might have 1 or 2 catches, but they didn't really utilize the offense as much as I thought that they would.
First half play was abysmal.
Yeah, but Spags in that defense. I mean, I think again, it is just amazing. The last 4 or 5 years, we always talked about if this team had a defense to go along with that offense, they could damn near be undefeated.
Shout out to Bolton, Reed, McDuffie, Karlaftis, Gay, Menahue, Chanel, Nadi. I mean, these guys yesterday, especially in the second half, because they were even a slightly suspect in the first half.
Yeah, this defense is definitely a second half team.
Oh.
Which is, I mean, really, you want your defense to be that if your offense is putting in work.
A great, solid defense, you don't give up really more than 17 points. Of course, that's what they scored. So they scored that in the first half. But second half, it's all about the adjustments, man.
Absolutely.
They shut them down. And we have seen that when teams have come out and scored 14 points early on, defense has clamped down latter part of the game and then the second half, and that's essentially what they did again yesterday. And last week against the Raiders, they only gave up 6 points.
So let's talk about L'Jarius Sneed, who is probably, if not the best corner in the NFL.
You mean it's not Jalen Ramsey?
Not the best corner in the NFL. He's definitely top 2.
And he ain't 2.
Exactly.
That'll be McDuffie.
Exactly. So Jamar Chase, who is famous for running his mouth when it comes to playing these Kansas City Chiefs, usually has to
who's that?
Right. Usually has to lick crow. And he talked trash before. He even talked trash after the game.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen someone literally get their behind whooped and then still come back, talking more stuff like
he's running for president. I'm sorry. This is what bullies do. You even though you got smacked around, you kind of still stand up and make a little noise.
You gotta look. Shout out to him though, because you gotta stand on it. Like if you say something, stand on business. You got to. You got to. I mean, it's one of those things where like, all right, man, I didn't. What was his stats yesterday? He has 3 receptions, 41 yards, no touchdown. You gotta. I mean, shoot, it happened.
He got shut.
It happened. He did.
Damn.
He did.
And look, Steve and I, we talked about just look at the number 1 receivers that Sneed was lined up against the season.
All season long.
Sneed lined up against him, I think, 61% of the snaps yesterday.
Absolutely.
I mean, as he said, man, you got to check the stats.
And he did have a couple of flags, or just one. I think he had just one. But
there was even some pushing and shoving going on.
Even Steve Spagnuolo would say that's the cost of doing business. I mean, he's aggressive at the line of scrimmage, but, he'll get a flag or 2.
Yeah, and surprisingly yesterday, a couple calls actually went the Chiefs' way.
When they needed them to.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah, they did.
I had to check and see what I was drinking yesterday. I'm like, did that just happen?
Man, the worst part about that is when you see that, it's like, man, the Chiefs, people always saying about how the Chiefs get them lucky calls, but when they don't get the calls, social media is quiet.
And the referees did make a point to say when guys are eligible. The referee made a point to say.
Did. Loud.
I thought we would pull out a bullhorn.
Yeah.
Twice.
61 is eligible.
20 is eligible. Had a little sign written up.
Yeah.
Just the whole. It was. It's getting wild out there with these referees. Yeah. It's getting pretty bad. Shout out to Rashee Rice, 5 receptions, 127 yards. Shout out to Isaiah Pacheco, 18 carries, 130 yards. And in our group chat during the game. Or was it before the game?
Before
the game. Because Pacheco's coming back from concussion protocol.
Yep.
And I was like, there's no way he's going to come out here and do anything because usually when a guy comes back, from either being on the injured reserve or from concussion protocol. You get nothing.
Yep.
This is what I knew he was gonna ball out because his stats wasn't on FanDuel. I was pissed. I was pissed.
But I got to give it to him. He showed up and showed out. Yesterday.
He needs that. If you remember,
and his helmet stayed on the
energy
game
that he's had early on in the season, he had that same energy yesterday. They win when he plays with a ball of energy. They do.
Well, we're not getting that from the guy who usually is that energy, Patrick Mahomes. And I still say something's going on with him.
Nah, you say that every year.
He said every week.
He do that every year. He's like,
Not every week.
Yeah, true.
And I ain't lying yet. I'm just saying.
But but one of the things I was telling Steve. Now, granted, we saw it after the game. Well, we saw it at the end of the game when they kind of clinched it, whatever. But it looked like for the first time they were having fun.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was maybe too soon for that because they still had 2 minutes. The the Cincinnati Bengals had a 2-minute drive that they could have gone down and scored.
They did.
And tied it up had they got a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
So I'm like, y'all dancing and stuff, but there's still a ball game to be played.
Jake Browning, 19 for 33 yesterday, 197 yards and a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, 21 for 29.
Marcus Spears is on here. Say, what up, guys? What's up, Marcus?
What up, Gristle? 21 29, 245 yards and a touchdown. So Patrick Mahomes had one of his best games statistically.
That was not a good statistical game.
245 yards for Patrick Mahomes this season is good statistically.
Some people needed him to have over 260.
I'm just because a week ago,
more than one touchdown.
Right, a week ago in the first half, he had minus 18 yards.
Yeah.
So that was the entire offense. Yeah.
Yeah, statistically, he did all right. So we'll talk about more of the playoff scenarios, who we might want to see. We'll talk about the trash talk, and we're going to ask Danon what is it about these receivers and not being able to catch the damn ball.
Let me ask you this though, because I know we're gonna go to break a couple of minutes, but if you're Mahomes, knowing that you're still getting those drops or whatever, how do you feel about going into next week's game? To where, do you want to? If you're Mahomes, do you want to get more reps? Do you want to continue to try to play and build off of this week's game?
Can he really talk because he hasn't been playing up to his level either? Yeah. So we'll bring Danon to the table and we'll come right back after this break. It is a victory Monday. The Chiefs defeat the Cincinnati Bengals 25-17, week 17. We have one game left in the regular season, the number 3 seed in the playoffs, and an 8th consecutive AFC West title. Something to celebrate and some other stuff to point fingers at still.
And another season where the Bengals aren't going to go home with a Super Bowl trophy or a ring.
Don't you love that? All the Bengals talk. Oh man, I wish we had a way I could call Gary Owen and just because he talks a lot of trash.
Just pick up your phone and call.
And just put him on speaker. All right, folks, we'll be back in just a moment. The Red Hour. Season 5, week 17 of the Kansas City Chiefs NFL season, and we are the Red Hour, welcoming to the table our gracious host this evening, Big Bro, former Kansas City Chiefs and voice of the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network, the Dane and Hughes.
What's going on, fellas?
What's
What's going on,
happening?
peoples? Glad to be the host. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for
like 2 years.
a couple of years now,
Yeah.
so we appreciate y'all making it out here, making the trek out here to Lee Summit.
Is,
I mean, we
Is
don't
that-
need to host more often, though.
You gonna get spoiled with all this? You got some food
is
upstairs.
the red cup to catch your tears?
Well, if we had lost, yes, it would have been.
Oh, I'm talking about the chicken hawks. I mean, the Hawkeyes, the Indian, the chicklets. What are they?
So remember this Chiefs game? Yeah, my Hawkeyes wet the bed, man. I had to pour a little out for them.
Hey,
But it was the
look,
same recipe that they had all season long. So it's like I had my frustrations weeks ago.
but
So-
at least on the bright side, the Iowa Cyclones lost 2 last week.
Oh, the Iowa State?
Iowa State.
Iowa State, yeah.
Well,
Shout out Brad G.
The little brother. That's the little brother. But yeah, my Hawkeyes disappointed.
Darren
Great
said they
defense.
volunteered for the ass whooping today.
Oh, I did.
They did. It seems like they did.
What you say about
They
cussing?
signed up for a behind whooping on New Year's Day. Yeah, so you had we can go. I mean, we can have a whole segment on just
Hey,
this.
and speaking of, shout out to KU, K-State,
Yes.
and MU. They all won their bowl games
Yeah.
this year, which is a first. That
Yeah.
has never happened.
And KU, after 200 yards of penalty and the referees making it about themselves, I don't know how that game ever got completed.
And RIP to the death of a Pop-Tart. So that all happened.
Disappearing pop tart.
That all happened. So, Danon, big question. You're an offensive guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't these receivers hold on to the dang blasted ball?
Why can't they catch them?
Man, I don't know. I've been scratching my head because you don't make it to the NFL without the ability to catch the ball.
True.
And I understand that there are times the defense gets paid as well, the DBs if it's tight coverage, but I can't fathom how difficult it has become to catch the ball when the receivers are open.
Mhm.
And the ball actually is in their hands.
And so there's no excuse. I mean, I can go on and on. I sit up in the booth doing the pregame show, watching the receivers. Obviously, my eyes go all the way to the receivers, watching them warm up, watching them run routes, and seeing the attention to detail. And there's some things that I question.
Mhm.
I've played that position, so I feel like I can question it. Maybe some of the efforts, some of the consistencies. But when it's all said and done, I can say, you know what? Everybody's supposed to run a 12-yard hook or a 10-yard pivot or a 3-step slant or a 22-yard comeback. If that's what's designed in this offense to do, every one of them should do it. Sean, you guys were all around, but Sean, you were close. You and I were close back in the day. Willie Davis was much faster than me. JJ Burton, much faster than me. But we all ran the routes the same.
Yeah.
We all got there the same. And that's the consistency that quarterbacks needed. So I'm watching that, and there's sometimes I'm like, man, well, that was a little bit of a sloppy route. That was not necessarily as crisp as it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
That's my philosophy. Maybe they don't go into the details like we did with Paul Hackett and Jimmy Ray and Marty and
I was
those
just
guys.
going to ask, what would have been the repercussions
Oh,
for
my
you
gosh,
guys not being able to hold on and bring in a ball that was in your hands
Yeah,
time after time?
Well, you'd be out of a job.
we'd be doing this show from an apartment somewhere else
In a questionable neighborhood.
Yes, because my career would not have lasted as long as it did. The details about the route running and the concepts, that's Matt Nagy, Andy Reid, Connor Embry, all those guys, they come together and put together the game plan. It might be different than what we did in the West Coast offense, but catching the football is not different.
That's universal.
Yeah, it's universal. Doesn't matter what offense you're in, run and shoot, spread, West Coast, whatever. Catching the ball is the most fundamental thing, and it's just been very disappointing to watch because I can see how it's affected Patrick. You can tell if you really are in tune with the game, the hesitation that he has, maybe the focus on one receiver on his tight end a little bit longer. You're not seeing the fluidity and the no-look passes and everything that we saw in the past when he was 100% comfortable with his guys.
He can't be Magic Pat.
Let me ask you this: how much? And look, and I appreciate you talking about the coaching part, but when you talk about them just to play the stuff, but how much of it is that they don't even practice the route tree and just during the week and stuff? And I know you can do some stuff during training camp, but it seems like because we always talk about how they're not running the correct routes. The route tree, it seems to be something that they're not even doing correctly.
Well, they're working on the routes based on the offense, but the attention to detail, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is for quarterbacks, and I mentioned it in the pregame show yesterday, being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it is huge. Because we see some great receivers or you see some great players and it looks like they're kind of doing their own thing. It looks like it. Yeah, it's not necessarily that they are. It just looks like it. But guaranteed, the number one thing that they're accomplishing with their quarterback is they're where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And you're not fooling your quarterback. So fooling the quarterback could be, and I'm not in the meeting room, but I'll use the example from the Raiders game. Jack Jones steps in front of the pass to Justin Watson. Yep. Now, was that a bad route by Justin Watson?
Got to come to the ball.
But that was also a bad throw. I mean, the way
there's but then where does it stop? Where what comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's like, okay, well, Patrick may have expected him to be at 7 yards when he ran at 10. And that's why the ball comes out a little earlier. That's why Jack is able to jump the route before it looks like Justin was even ready. Not necessarily that he's supposed to come back to the ball, because that route is actually a pivot route where you're supposed to run a hook and then work your way to the sideline. But if he runs it at 7, it's a perfectly thrown ball. He runs it at 10, it looks late. But it also looks early. It looks late to the DB who's watching the quarterback at the same time.
True.
So, you know what I mean? That's the being in sync. That's how important it is to be in sync. We can look at it at a glance and have the benefit of replay on television and slow-mo and freeze frame and all that. But in the back rooms of the meetings and the training camps and OTAs, there was a way that the route was supposed to be run.
Yeah.
Now, if he didn't run it the right way, or if Patrick threw it a little inside, we don't know those exact details, but we do know that they're not in sync.
Let me ask you this, and we've had this conversation amongst us, and you and I when we're away on the road, but not to say he was the end all be all, but how much truly is Eric Bieniemy missed on the side? Because when we talk about accountability, I asked Nagy at the press a couple of weeks ago how he talked about that they do hold coaches and the players accountable. And when I turned around and asked him what that accountability looked like, he couldn't really answer.
Mm-hmm.
How much of his presence and what he brought, to the small little details and making them do stuff over and over again until it was perfect, do you think it's missing right now?
I will say this. I always liked loud coaches, and I didn't have a problem with coaches that screamed and yelled and cussed, because I felt like if they were quiet, I shut them up, that means I was doing something.
Right.
And then I think there's also a component where there's a fear. Fear can be a great motivating factor. And fear of coming to the sideline after making a mistake, knowing that you're about to hear about it from somebody, can be a catalyst for you not to make the mistake before coming to the sideline, if that makes a lot of sense. So I feel like like Jimmy Ray was different than Paul Hackett. Al Saunders was different than all three of them. Marty was different with some people than he was with others. But there was also a component of like, I don't want to disappoint these guys. Plus, I don't want to be on Sports Center getting yelled at. Like, so that I feel like that mixture may be a miss of Eric Bieniemy's presence. Now, as far as the effectiveness, I don't know if these receivers would catch the ball more if he was here or not, or catch it better. But I just think there's a motivating factor.
But the flip side is they wouldn't be leading the league in drops, because there would be, because you're not going to be playing. I mean, there's only
but so many people you can't put on the field.
Well, but the Chiefs go, sometimes they play 10, 11 receivers, including the tight ends. What I'm saying is like Shady McCoy, when he was here, he kept putting the ball on the ground. EB said, stop putting the ball on the ground. You're not going to be playing. He kept putting the ball on the ground. He sat on the bench.
But that's my thing with that, and me and Darren went back and forth. I think it was last week about this. It only works for certain players.
Yeah,
like it's not going to work for Patrick. It's not going to work for Travis to a certain extent,
because they know too. Because you only got 3 running backs. So one, if Shady's dropping the ball, you got 2 other guys at wide receiver.
Right.
You only have 7 receivers if you're going to have 4 on the field at one time.
But if MVS continues dropping the football, he's going to be on the side. I'm saying, I mean, there's going to be, at least I feel like with him, he keeps dropping the football out there. Now, granted, he ain't getting enough targets as right now, which I guess could be punishment. But you're paying the man essentially to build his cardio up. So, I mean, if
who else are you going to put on the field? That's my part.
Some guys are just untouchable like that. You can't
giving Richie James more snaps, or I mean, at the time you would have been giving Rasheed Rice more snaps.
We could have spared the Pop-Tart. He probably could have caught the ball.
Yeah. I just don't think that there's as much. There's not as much maneuverability at the wide receiver position than we think. We'd like to think that you could just bench this guy, and we saw his snaps before Kadarius Toney went down. We saw his snaps go down significantly, and we saw Rasheed Rice. We also know the recipe for Andy Reid is that he doesn't thrust rookies into the mix for 60-plus plays at the beginning of the season. All of these reps that Rasheed Rice is getting has happened for the most part since the bye week. Since we left Germany, that's where he started to elevate as the true number one receiver, and some of the other guys started to go down. But then, okay, MVS, let's say you want to bench him. Who are you throwing in there besides him? Okay, we got Richie James. Okay, well, who's going to do the punt return and the kick returning? Who's going to take all those reps? Maybe Richie James doesn't have the stretching the field ability that MVS does. So if you take him out, now you have a bunch of possession receivers.
My only pushback to that was that I don't even think it gets to that point, because stuff like what happened in the first game against Detroit, where we saw all those drops, I feel like with him, stuff would have been corrected before we would have got to this conversation that we're having right now, this late into the season.
Oh, you're talking about with EB?
Yeah.
And I know it's not a thing, and it probably should be now, because you have players like Chris Jones who set out for contract reasons. And he only set out one game and he's back and he's playing at the level. But these guys say, I play like this, pay me like this. When you don't play like that, can I not pay you like this? Because you've got how much is Kadarius Toney making this year?
He's on a rookie.
He's still on a rookie contract.
He's on a fresh round. Yeah. But
so Mark Valdez-Scantley's making $12 million?
11 million.
He's
on a second contract.
So Harrison Butker yesterday beat Cincinnati with his foot alone.
Yeah.
And he's paying
17.
He's getting paid handsomely too.
He's getting paid. He's not getting paid $11 million a season.
He's one of the highest paid kickers.
Oh yeah, you see absolutely why.
Yeah.
But we could have been a leg cramp away from
22.
Yeah. But we could have been a leg cramp away from this not even being a thing today. This could not be a victory Monday.
That's true. Yeah, it's definitely a catch-22, because I'm sure the owners, and they won't ever say it publicly, but I'm sure some of their argument is, well, we sign a contract with a guy. If he underperforms, should we not have to
lower his salary next season?
Can we lower his pay?
Or can you threaten to bench him?
He's still getting paid.
You're still going to get the same money.
Yeah. I sit on the bench for $11 million a season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, from a player's perspective, you want to be able to get what your market worth is, and if a team is willing to pay you, just like any company might be willing to pay us, then we're not going to turn it down. Now, having said that, there is an argument that if you underperform, if you're on the field, underperforming is on the field for X amount of plays and not being productive. But I have seen in the league where players have been X'd out of game plans because they have bonuses coming up, because they don't want them to reach any kind of threshold.
That was a famous problem during your era, especially.
Which brings me to
inactives.
Which brings me to coming up this week in LA. You have three guys that I think Pacheco, he's at 934 yards right now. You have Rasheed Rice, who's at like 938 or something close.
Travis.
And then Travis, who needs about 20 yards for 1,000 to make 1,000-yard seasons. Do you feel like they'll be playing this week?
Well, there's only but so many people you cannot play. And if we're going to be slotted into the number 3 seed, here's the thing. We have become accustomed to being a championship team.
Patrick doesn't have to play for that to happen, though.
With the aspirations of championship or bust, I don't think that you can be Andy Reid or Brett Veach or Clark Hunt standing at the podium having lost in the wild card round because maybe somebody twisted an ankle in week 18 against the Chargers that shouldn't have been on the field. You think about the Miami Dolphins yesterday losing. They were down 40-something to 13 at the time, I believe, when Bradley Chubb went down. Fourth quarter, not necessary for him to be on the field.
Right.
I guarantee that if they lose in the wild card and they get points put up against them like
Finger's
that,
going to be pointing to that
there's going
situation.
to be pointing to that situation. So there has to be a balance and understanding. I think if you draw up a game plan where it's almost like the preseason, where you're saying we're going to get you guys on the field for the first quarter, and you maybe Patrick, you intentionally throw the ball to Travis, or you run the ball like we did earlier in the game yesterday, and those guys get their incentives, that's fine. But I don't think you roll the dice any deeper than you should be because you're not going to have the bye week. Next week is kind of a hybrid bye week for a lot of the players. So I don't think you have to take into consideration any incentives that guys will be earning. Now, from a player's perspective, like I'm going in the huddle. I remember Kimball Anders going in the huddle. I remember guys going in the huddle be like, "Yo, I need a couple of catches."
But okay, so the flip side of that, being a former player, do you trust because some organizations will, even if they hold you out, they will honor, your incentive or something because, like, obviously, had you played, you might have gotten it. Some organizations will pay out. Now Chris Jones, I remember 2020, he was 2.5 sacks away from $1.25 million, and they sat him in the last week of the game, the last week of the season. I don't know. I think he's a half a sack away from
half
10.
a sack. He's 9.5 right now.
So I mean, he said he wants to play, but if they're intent on not playing him, because it comes around negotiation, like they won't mention it in the offseason where Chris Jones like, I could have 10 sacks, but you sacked me. And they're like, well, you didn't get 10 sacks.
Press conference after the game, Chris Jones was talking, and the question was asked, you're at 9.5. Do you want to play? He's like, well, of course. He looked over and Clark Hunt was sitting right there. He's like, well, of course I want to play, but I understand the fact of getting rest and how much of importance that it is. So,
and in the back rooms, if I'm Clark Hunt, I was like, your bind should have been playing in week 1.
Right.
You might have got that one sack. That's what I would say if I'm the owner. Like if you're gonna make that argument on one side while you held out,
that's true.
There's an argument for that.
That is, we call those facts.
Because he reads about facts all the time.
And that's a conversation that happens between the agents and behind the scenes with the ownership or the GMs is like, because that negotiation and those conversations, it's not about necessarily what you've done. It's about the nitpicking of what we think you could have done and why we may not want to pay you X amount of dollars that you think you should earn.
Yeah, and if I'm Travis Kelce, I'm like, man, I need this to be my 8th consecutive.
And I don't think it matters as much to Travis Kelce as it does to Pacheco and Chris Jones because Travis Kelce's going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he still wants that 8th consecutive.
I totally get it, but I don't think it matters as much because his legacy's already set.
Yeah, but you only 20 away. If you're 100 away.
I will say this. I think there are some milestones that are more important to the organization than they may be to the players. And there are some that the organization could care less about. And that doesn't mean they don't care about the player, but the milestone to be able, with all the hoopla around Travis Kelce being considered one of the best, if not the best tight end in history, and you have an opportunity to get him the ball and be able to put on his bio when you put him up on the Ring of Honor and when you announce him in Canton, that
you don't want to say 8 out of 9 years. Like, really?
Or to have 9 straight years or whatever, you're probably going to try to accomplish that.
It doesn't matter because all they're going to say is when they enshrine him is, hey, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, ladies and gentlemen.
My goodness.
And the camera's going to pan to her and we'll be in this crap all over again. All right, let me ask you this as we go into this final week heading to the playoffs. This offense has struggled for 17 weeks now, minus a game or two. Going into the playoffs as the number 3 seed, do you see this team making it past the first round?
I definitely do because I feel like, one, we'll be playing at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, even though we've lost 4 of our games.
You know that, right?
Even though we've lost 4 of our 6 games at home, I feel like we still have an advantage at home. That was no more evident than yesterday, and the ability that the fans had in rattling Jake Browning and that offense for the Bengals. So I like the fact that we'll be playing that game at home.
But if it's Buffalo, I don't, I mean, this ain't the same Buffalo team that we would, the team has faced in the playoffs. And that game being just a couple of
we lost to the Raiders. We can't even be pulling straws like that no more at this point.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I get the confidence. I mean, I'm with you because I'd like the season to extend, but there are certain teams.
Well, I mean, basically, we lost 5 of 6 games by one possession.
Yep.
Like to me, the regular season 1 possession loss is different than a postseason matchup, and I feel like we would gain the 1 possession in the postseason, like we have pretty much every year.
The Rose Bowl is tied at 20.
And Buffalo isn't. If you look at their season, the whole season, they've been up and down, just like Kansas City.
Yeah, but they're trending upward right now as what they're doing because again,
they just played the Chargers. Almost got them.
I mean, look,
and this is 2 weeks ago.
The Patriots we were hoping could have got them.
And
yesterday.
The Chargers don't care about shite right now.
Well,
I would say this: where we're sitting now, I believe we are 31st, tied for 31st in the giveaway takeaway with minus 11. I don't think we got a turnover yesterday. We turned the ball over, but we didn't take it away from them.
Factual.
So we're minus 11. So that puts us either tied for 31st or actually last in the NFL in the giveaway takeaway. That's something that jumps out to me. And if you couple that with the drops, like we are shooting ourselves in the foot literally by correctable things. So when you talk about, we're into week 18 and we have these issues, are they concerning for the wild card? They are concerning, but I feel like there's just something about being a team that has become accustomed to winning close games, especially in the postseason, that makes me feel more comfortable whoever we play.
But Pat was playing at a much better level.
Let me ask you this, because I asked Andy about this yesterday. You talked about the concerns. There's 4 concerns for what you're talking about. A, you're not creating a lot of turnovers. B, obviously the drops. But there's 2 other things. C, the penalties that they're stalling offense, but also, granted, you had 6 field goals yesterday. You're not punching the ball into the end zone. Field goals will end up getting you beat after a while because, granted, you played a team that really couldn't score a lot because of the quarterback. But Josh Allen, he comes in. We saw. I mean, he can put points up on the board, and if your offense is not punching the ball into the end zone and you're relying on trying to kick field goals versus touchdowns will end up getting you beat.
Because if we played Joe Burrow yesterday, this would be a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I get it. But it's only so much a defense can do.
Yeah,
you keep putting them back out there.
That's
bad
what
positions.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying because this is a bend but don't break defense, and the fact when the offense is out on the field in the first half and they can't score, and the other team comes back and score. I mean, the defense can only. Man, look, they've been doing an excellent job trying to hold these teams to 14, 17 points. But if the offense can't put points on the board, again, against the Raiders, they gave away 13 points.
Yeah. But I think when you get to the postseason, you're asking more of everybody. And even though the defense has been stellar, yeah, they do. Because they sacked Jake Browning, 6 times yesterday?
Yeah.
And at least 4 of them, they had an opportunity to knock the ball out. Yeah. Like I'm talking now, obviously I'm spoiled. I played with Derek Thomas and Neil Smith where they were going for the hit, but they were going for the ball first. There were multiple times, and it's not a knock on Justin Reed and it's not a knock on Chris Jones, but it seemed like the effort was going towards getting the sack and the mindset and the hit, the legal hit, and the mindset to me, especially if you're moving into the playoffs, that if I do get that one shot on Josh Allen, I need to be thinking about the ball. I need to be thinking about ripping the ball out.
Interceptions too, though.
So that's where I think things can flip. And if you can get the turnovers, and you're talking about the field goals, settling for field goals, like how many times have we had the field flipped for us?
Right.
Where we're getting the ball on the 35-yard line because we caused a fumble or got an interception. And then now let's talk about what's not being produced on the board from a field goal versus a touchdown perspective.
Because we've had struggles in the red zone, and we've been one of the best teams in the red zone in the NFL for quite a while, even in
the last couple of years, though.
Yeah, but
postseason's a new season, and I feel like until we show that we can't in January, and being the Super Bowl champs that we are, we're going to assume that we can. That's where my mind's going.
Yeah, you talk about being different. You hear Kelsey talk about it all the time. It's like they turn up a different notch when you get into that postseason.
And it's dynamic, and I say it every single game. It doesn't matter what sport. It doesn't matter what level of sport. There's a time in the game where the coaches or the players are in a position where they are deciding either not to lose or to try to win.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of teams that play the Chiefs and have played Patrick Mahomes have made the decision in the opposite direction. They're trying not to lose the game.
Right.
So then they're not necessarily putting their foot on the gas pedal, while we are putting ourselves in a position to win games, and that's why we've won more.
Which is Buffalo the last time they played in Kansas City.
All statistics from this team this year and this team last year are out the window. We have been proven wrong all season long about what the Chiefs could do, what they're capable of, what they have done in the past.
True.
They have totally ruined all of those things this season. And here we are with a struggling offense who is still yet to be as potent in the red zone as they have been just a year ago. To facing some very strong teams, especially coming in the postseason. And even though this game doesn't really matter to us this coming week, some other teams could put us in a really bad position with some wins and losses on who we play in that first round.
So that's a great question, because, like, is there anybody that jumps out at us right now that we prefer to play? I know there's probably a couple teams where a lot of people have an opinion on who they wouldn't want to play.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, who's hot and so on and so forth. But, like, for me, like, we're not playing great enough football to warrant wanting to play anybody.
But
I feel
even
like
at Arrowhead, though, that's been an issue too. I mean, we lost four games at Arrowhead this season.
Last time they won at Arrowhead was in October, right?
Yeah.
So
even coming home means absolutely nothing at this point.
So we're in a position where whoever we play, we just got to play our football, play our brand of football. And the fact that we've elevated to knowing exactly who our number one receiver is, to showing who our number one receiver is by how many targets he's getting in the game versus what Rashee Rice was getting early in the season, establishing the run game, which we always talk about, is a recipe for success in December and January. And you see what Isaiah Pacheco was able to do for 130 yards in rushing yesterday. So I feel like we're right on the right path. It looks different. And I still contend that healthy, there's no team that wants to play the Chiefs in the postseason. I said that in the preseason, and I'm echoing it now.
And Corey, who's watching us online, asked the question, do you think the Charger game would be an opportunity to go out and play loose and get the QB receivers back on track? We've been playing really tight. Reminds me of the Tampa Bay Super Bowl.
No, I don't think it's an opportunity to do anything that's going to move us into the playoffs with anything. I mean,
we haven't done it in these 17 weeks, 16 weeks.
We're in a position where we're pretty much locked into a number 3 seed. We have to be thinking of it as a hybrid bye week.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get out of here, we're not going to even ask about this final game this season and who you think is going to win. I'm going to jump to this.
Steve did say the Chargers were going to beat them.
He stepped on that, man.
I'm going to jump to this.
That's what you say.
Well, it wouldn't matter.
Do you think this Chiefs team is going to be able to defend its crown in February in Las Vegas?
You mean Arrowhead West?
Call it at this point, I don't want to call it Arrowhead West because we can't win at Arrowhead.
I feel like we have as good a shot as anybody. Baltimore looks really, really good. They are the best team in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
They are a problem. And to think that they're a problem to this level with losing Mark Andrews, who's an all-pro tight end, no one would have thought that they would still be able to rally and play like they have since his departure.
Kind of the same doubts they had
against Baltimore.
Kind of got the same doubts they had with Tyreek going.
Defensively, I think they can give them problems.
Oh,
again, it's a matter.
Well,
of
defensively, we can give everybody. We'll give everybody problems. I think that I feel really good. If we had to go to Baltimore and play them in the AFC Championship, I don't feel like I'm nervous about that. I feel like
I don't think it gets to that point. I think Cleveland knocks them off.
There's one AFC North rival knocking them off. We'll see.
The way Joe Flacco, you got a former Super Bowl quarterback of that organization with that team, and we saw how that defense is.
Kareem Hunt having to come back to Arrowhead.
JFK was president when Flacco got in the league.
Are we afraid? In honesty, I know we got to jump off, but are we afraid of anybody?
I'm afraid of us.
Not with the defense playing like they're playing.
I am afraid of us. We have been the most trouble to our team this season than any opponent.
I am afraid for the Chiefs offensively and with the play calling because, like you said, to your point, I don't know how aggressive they will continue to be. Like Pacheco going for 100 yards and being able to run like he did. I'm not sure whether or not that will continue to carry because there were games that he would be on pace to do well, run the football, and then they would just abandon the run altogether.
But his helmet kept coming off. His helmet stayed on yesterday, and we see what happens when he keeps his helmet on. So strap that sucker on with some Gorilla Glue. So you're saying, yes, this team can still go.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
I think we can't say it and think it's like tongue-in-cheek talk when we say it's a new season in the postseason.
Yeah.
We are the most familiar with postseason play in the AFC.
That means something.
And that means something.
And look, and I'll be honest, man, the worst this team has been is losing to AFC Championship games in overtime.
Yeah.
In Patrick's career. So I have to give him that grace that, that at worst we're going to be in the AFC Championship game and the game will come down in overtime.
That's not my question. Do you think the Chiefs will be at Allegiant Stadium in February?
Yes.
As fans or on the field?
It's a difference.
I had to be very specific.
I'm gonna say on the field. I'm gonna ride with.
So you think the Cowboys and the Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl?
I've been saying Cowboys Chiefs. I said it.
You still think that's a thing?
I still think it's a
I don't
thing.
think the Cowboys, but
Oh, okay.
So at this point, I turn to the camera and say, this is why having this show done at Danon's house with a bar that close to us has been a problem. Because I don't believe any of that. But no, Danon, bro, appreciate you. Happy New Year. Thank you for
Happy
hosting
New Year,
us.
man.
Appreciate
Glad y'all
you.
can make it.
Yes, sir.
We'll do this again next week, talking about the No Bowl, because this game means absolutely nothing next week.
What's up, Mike? Michael Coleman's on here, and he
Hey,
said,
what's up?
Danon, we want that hat.
I know
Mike
Mike's a
was
hat
happy.
guy. He's the hat comp right there.
Yeah.
That's what's up. All right. Once again, everybody that tunes into the Red Hour, we appreciate you because you could be doing anything else with this hour, but you spend it with us every week, and we greatly appreciate it. We hope and pray that the best comes to you and yours in the coming year, and we hope and pray that some blessings fall down on one Arrowhead Drive, and I would say that the receivers will catch it, but they probably won't. So with that being said, and it's not too soon, people, I meant that. Said it with my chest. We'll be back next week, and we'll talk postseason, and that's all I got. Thankful for being here another year, and Happy New Year to you all, and we'll see you in a week. Be safe, be well. Peace.
The views and opinions expressed in the W Radio Show by the host, co-host, guests, and call-in listeners are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not represent the opinions of the W Show, 100.1 FM, One Kansas City Radio, Sideline Sports Talk, Team Wall Street Foundation, or affiliates.